Now we get to move on to some nut action. Not that kind of action that you're thinking, but the nut action. This nut right here. And all that means is just the distance from the string to the fret from the nut. And the way you measure that, you go back to your trusty feeler gauge. And this time we're going to do 18 thousandths of an inch across the board. If you want the feeler gauge to literally just slip right under. That's perfect. It's perfect. Without any room. So this one's a little high. So then at that point, what I would have to do is get my nut gauges. This is a little more complex and it definitely takes some time to learn it properly. And then the nut gauges themselves, they go by gauge. So you will use the appropriate gauge for the appropriate string. So then we detune that string, take it off, and we just do light passes. And you follow the string path, so that angle of the neck of the string. We put the string back on, we tune up. Voila! Do that side. Cool. Awesome. Alright everyone, now we get to move on to pickup height. And I measure from the pole piece, which are these, to the string. And then don't forget, you have to press literally on the last fret. So you know if you have even any space. A lot of times, actually people have adjusted the pickups and they adjusted them way too high. And then it's not hitting it. But then when you start playing, they're just that high that you start to break. It sounds like you're fretting out almost, and they'll come back and be like, shit, my fucking truss rod moved, and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And it's literally just that. So again, a good number, a good universal number is 3/32. This feeler gauge actually has a little ruler, which is cool at the very end. So that's what I'm going to use. Bleep, 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 and then I go each pole and I measure accordingly, like so. Alright. You fret the last fret. Let me see if I can zoom in on this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. Maybe. And then I keep going on each bowl. But honestly, here's the thing about pickup height and output. I'll start at kind of like 3/32. But then I'll play the guitar, and then I'll compare the two. And I want kind of like an equal balance between both pickups. Even 3/32 on some pickups, like ceramic pickups or some of those higher outputs, it's way too much, man. So I do think that a lot of this, as far as the pickup height goes, is subjective, with some regards to the numbers that the manufacturers recommend. So I always tell people, start with 3/32 and maybe 2/32 on the bridge, because you're gonna have more room, and then just experiment. Just plug the guitar in and play the fuck out of it. Take your time, man. Like, don't rush it. That's the only way you're gonna really get the most out of your setup. Now we get to move on to intonation. And this should be done in playing position, but because our situation where I am the only person here, I will do it on the bench position. Then do the harmonic, and then you compare it to the fretted note. So that's sharp. So this saddle needs to go towards the tailpiece. Then there we go. We do that for all the strings, and then that's it. You always kind of get this pattern. Not all the time, again, but for the most part, it always does. So if you don't have anything similar like this, like if it's all fucked up, then it might be an issue with it. And again, and also use your ears. If you got a good ear, try it. I mean, if it sounds off, it's probably off. There's other factors that come into play, like flat frets, or the pickups are too high, but that's another video. So last step for me, before I close the case on this bad boy, is I play the guitar. But this feels great though, because I'm awesome. Anyway, so what I usually like to do is I usually keep the guitar for like an extra day, if allowed, if I can, just in case anything moves. And by anything, I mean the truss rod. It's so temperamental, it's so finicky, especially like this guitar. It hadn't been set up in a while, so me going in there and adjusting it, it might move ever so slightly, but enough where it would just not feel as good as it does right now. So, but this feels great though. So